Social proof exploitation. Social proof exploitation is a psychological manipulation technique where individuals are influenced to adopt a behavior, belief, or decision simply because they observe others doing the same. Social proof reflects a natural human tendency to seek guidance from others during uncertain situations. When used ethically, it helps people make well-informed choices, but when exploited, it manipulates emotions, overrides critical thinking, and pressures individuals into conformity. The roots of social proof lie in evolutionary psychology. In early human societies, survival often depended on group behavior. If a crowd ran in one direction, it was safer to follow than to pause and question the reason. That survival instinct still drives behavior today. For example, when we notice a long line outside a restaurant, we assume the food is good. When a product boasts thousands of glowing reviews, we believe it's worth purchasing. And when everyone in a social group seems to agree on something, we feel an urge to conform, even if we secretly disagree. Social proof is among the most heavily exploited tools in sales and marketing. Companies flood their websites with fake testimonials, inflated customer reviews, and artificially generated popularity indicators such as over 1 million satisfied customers to create the illusion of widespread approval. Influencers are paid to promote brands, giving the impression of genuine endorsements when they're actually financially motivated. Businesses also rely on tactics like bestseller tags, countdown timers, and trending now labels to build a false sense of urgency, driving purchases based on perceived popularity, not genuine personal need. This technique becomes especially powerful in high-pressure sales settings. A real estate agent might say, "This house has had multiple offers today. You should act quickly," even when that's not true. A car salesperson could claim, "Most people who test drive this car buy it on the spot," triggering fear of missing out. These strategies tap into the human need to fit in, making people feel that rejecting the offer is equivalent to going against the crowd. Beyond marketing, social proof is a major influence in politics, media, and social movements. When the same message is repeated across multiple channels, people begin to believe it's true simply because it appears widely accepted. This is why propaganda campaigns use repetition, celebrity endorsements, and mass rallies to create an illusion of consensus, making dissent feel socially unacceptable. Manipulative leaders often surround themselves with cheering crowds to make their views seem universally popular, even when a significant portion of the population disagrees. In personal relationships, this manipulation shows up as peer pressure and groupthink. A toxic partner might say, "Everyone thinks you're overreacting," in order to invalidate emotions and enforce obedience. In the workplace, unethical behavior is sometimes justified with, "This is just how we do things here," discouraging employees from speaking up against misconduct. Even in day-to-day social settings, people may feel compelled to go along with questionable behavior simply because nobody else appears to object. The true danger of social proof exploitation is that it bypasses independent thought. When people accept something is correct just because it's popular, they stop questioning its logic or morality. This is how false information spreads, scams take hold, and damaging social norms persist. People become less inclined to challenge authority, resist group pressure, or make values-based choices when surrounded by the illusion of mass agreement. To guard against social proof exploitation, cultivate conscious skepticism, especially when you feel pushed to conform because everyone else is doing it. Ask yourself, is this truly the best choice, or just the most popular one? Seek real evidence rather than depending on crowd behavior. Popularity doesn't always mean something is true, ethical, or beneficial. Being able to resist the pull of social proof is a sign of independent thought. When you recognize that being widely accepted doesn't automatically make something right, you reclaim your power. Whether it's a purchase, a belief, or an idea, choosing based on reason rather than pressure puts you firmly in control. Intermittent reinforcement. To guard against the contrast principle, it's crucial to pause and evaluate each option independently. Ask yourself, would I still consider this a good deal, person, or opportunity if I hadn't seen the first one? Instead of comparing based on artificially created reference points, base your decision on the true value of each choice. Recognizing when contrast is being used to influence you allows you to rely on logic over emotional manipulation. Now, let's talk about intermittent reinforcement, one of the most powerful psychological conditioning methods. This technique involves providing rewards or positive outcomes inconsistently rather than on a predictable schedule. The randomness of the rewards makes people addicted to seeking approval, validation, or pleasure because they never know exactly when the next reward will come. It's the very principle that keeps gamblers glued to slot machines, social media users constantly checking their phones, and individuals stuck in toxic relationships where love and attention are only offered sporadically. While the human brain craves consistency, it is even more strongly wired to pursue unpredictable rewards. Behavioral psychology studies show that when rewards come on a steady schedule, like receiving praise or money regularly, people stay moderately motivated. But when rewards are handed out randomly, sometimes given, sometimes withheld, anticipation builds. That uncertainty causes the brain to work harder, reinforcing the behavior even more intensely than regular, predictable rewards would. This concept is the foundation of gambling addiction. Slot machines aren't programmed to pay out at fixed intervals. If players knew they'd win every third time, they'd quickly learn the pattern and stop playing when it wasn't payout time. But because a win could happen now, or maybe next time, they keep pulling the lever. The unpredictability keeps them hooked. That possibility of winning becomes more compelling than actually winning. Social media platforms are built around this same mechanism. Every time you post, the number of likes or comments isn't consistent. Sometimes your post gets lots of attention. Other times, hardly any. That uncertainty keeps you coming back, checking your notifications compulsively, because the next dopamine rush might be waiting. This same design underlies app notifications, email alerts, and infinite scroll news feeds. The randomness keeps you engaged. In personal relationships, intermittent reinforcement is a major element of emotional manipulation. A toxic partner may switch between affection and detachment, creating an emotional roller coaster. The victim becomes emotionally invested, clinging to the relationship while chasing those rare moments of affection, despite the stretches of coldness. Because love, approval, or kindness is given inconsistently, the brain attaches more deeply, just like a gambler clinging to hope for the next win. This same manipulation appears in the workplace. Employees may receive praise, raises, or recognition irregularly. An employer who occasionally rewards hard work, but often doesn't, creates a situation where workers keep striving, hoping that more effort will earn another moment of approval. This keeps people in unhealthy job environments. They believe that if they just work harder, the reward will eventually come. Cults, scams, and high control groups also exploit intermittent reinforcement. A leader may shower a follower with love and attention one day, only to withdraw it the next. The follower works harder and harder to regain that sense of approval, becoming deeply dependent. Similarly, Scammers may provide small payouts or signals of success early on before demanding money or loyalty, keeping victims stuck in a cycle of false hope. One of the most dangerous effects of intermittent reinforcement is that it overrides logic. Even when someone knows they're in a harmful situation, the unpredictability of reward keeps them engaged. They rationalize the bad times, thinking, if I just hold on a bit longer, things will improve. This mindset is what keeps people stuck in emotionally abusive relationships, trapped in gambling addictions, or clinging to exploitative jobs, because the next good moment always seems just around the corner. To escape intermittent reinforcement, you first have to recognize the pattern. Ask yourself, am I staying here because of consistent rewards, or because I'm hooked on occasional validation? If love, recognition, or rewards are only given unpredictably, that's a strong sign of manipulation. Healthy environments offer consistency, not emotional whiplash. If you find yourself drawn to situations where rewards are hit or miss, take a step back. Ask whether you're chasing the idea of happiness rather than experiencing true happiness. The most effective defense against intermittent reinforcement is understanding that real fulfillment doesn't come from emotional highs and lows. It comes from stability, respect, and reliability. When you stop reacting to uncertainty and begin prioritizing consistency, you regain control over your choices. You're no longer chasing approval. You're choosing peace. Priming. Priming is a psychological technique in which exposure to specific stimuli subtly influences a person's thoughts, behaviors, or decisions without them even being aware of it. This tactic works by quietly embedding an idea into the subconscious, increasing the likelihood that the person will respond in a particular way when prompted. It's a tool used across marketing, politics, everyday interactions, and psychological manipulation. By carefully shaping what someone sees, hears, or experiences before they make a choice, a manipulator can guide their response without the individual realizing they've been influenced. The human brain is deeply associative. It links words, images, and experiences through intricate neural pathways. When a new idea or concept is introduced, no matter how subtly, the brain begins to activate related thoughts and associations. For example, if someone sees the word yellow and is later asked to name a fruit, they are more likely to say banana than apple because their mind has already been gently steered in that direction. This process happens automatically and can be deliberately used to guide decisions. Priming is one of the most widely used tools in advertising and consumer behavior. Companies leverage it to influence how customers act by exposing them to specific cues before a purchase. For instance, a luxury clothing store might play classical music, priming shoppers to associate their products with sophistication and elegance. A fast food restaurant, on the other hand, may rely on bright red and yellow tones, colors that subconsciously stimulate hunger and urgency. Supermarkets also use priming strategies, placing expensive items at eye level or pumping familiar scents into the air to create comfort and trust, nudging shoppers towards spending more without even realizing why. Priming is also a foundational tool in politics and ideological persuasion. News outlets often choose specific words or phrases to steer public perception. When a politician is described as a strong leader, the audience is primed to see them as authoritative, but label someone controversial, and they're framed negatively before the facts are even considered. Social movements use this principle too, employing powerful images, catchy slogans, and repeated phrases to get people to emotionally identify with their cause, often before they fully grasp the details. On a more personal level, Priming is frequently used in relationships and social dynamics. A manipulative person may subtly insert certain ideas into your mind before a conversation to influence how you respond. For example, before asking for a favor, they might say, "You've always been such a generous person," subtly nudging you to act in line with that identity. Similarly, if someone continually comments on how difficult another person is, they are priming you to view that individual negatively before you've even had a direct experience with them. Priming also deeply affects self-image. Research has shown that people repeatedly exposed to words associated with intelligence, like smart, logical, or analytical, perform better on cognitive tasks than those exposed to neutral language. On the flip side, negative priming can encourage harmful behavior. If a person is constantly told they're lazy or not good enough, those messages are absorbed subconsciously, making them more likely to act in ways that fulfill that negative expectation. To defend yourself against priming, it's important to stay alert to the subtle cues shaping your perception. Ask yourself, why am I thinking this way? Was I influenced before making this decision? By recognizing when you've been exposed to certain ideas, images, or language before forming an opinion, you can begin to distinguish your authentic beliefs from those implanted externally. Being aware of how priming works allows you to reclaim control over your thoughts, ensuring that your decisions are based on conscious, deliberate choice rather than subconscious influence. Negative reinforcement. When applied with genuine belief and integrity, the Pygmalion effect can become a powerful force for motivation, transformation, and lasting success. Now, let's explore negative reinforcement, a psychological manipulation method that works by removing an unpleasant stimulus to encourage a specific behavior. Unlike punishment, which adds a negative consequence to discourage an action, negative reinforcement works by taking away something undesirable to strengthen a behavior. While this technique can have positive applications in habit building and motivation, it is frequently exploited in manipulative relationships, toxic workplaces, and systems of social control. The human brain is naturally programmed to seek comfort and avoid discomfort. So when a negative situation is removed as a result of a certain action, the brain links that action with relief, making it more likely to repeat the behavior in the future. That's what makes negative reinforcement so effective in shaping behavior. People will often go to great lengths to escape discomfort, even if it means agreeing to demands that go against their own best interests. A classic example of this can be found in parenting. Imagine a child throwing a tantrum in a store. If the parents give in and buy the toy just to stop the public embarrassment, the child learns that acting out leads to getting what they want. The removal of the parental refusal becomes the reward, reinforcing the tantrum behavior. Next time the child wants something, they'll be even more likely to throw a tantrum. The same cycle plays out in toxic relationships. For instance, one partner may give the silent treatment until they get their way. When the other partner gives in just to restore peace, the manipulation is rewarded. The silent treatment is removed, reinforcing the manipulative cycle. Negative reinforcement is also rampant in workplace environments. A boss may overload employees with excessive tasks and unrealistic deadlines. But when someone stays late or sacrifices their personal life to finish the work, the pressure temporarily goes away. This conditions the employee to believe that overworking is the only path to peace. Likewise, a manipulative coworker may guilt someone into accepting extra work. Once the person agrees, the guilt stops. Over time, the employee begins to believe that saying no always leads to discomfort, making them more likely to submit to pressure in the future. In the marketing and sales industry, negative reinforcement is also widely exploited. Subscription-based services often make the cancellation process deliberately frustrating. A customer may try to cancel, only to face endless obstacles, long wait times, hidden cancellation links, extra fees. Eventually, the process becomes so unpleasant that the customer just keeps paying, simply to avoid the hassle. Alarmist advertisements also rely on this trick. For example, your skin is aging faster than you think. Then they present a product as the solution to remove that fear, reinforcing the customer's dependency on the brand. In politics and social control, negative reinforcement is a subtle but effective method of maintaining obedience. Governments or institutions might impose harsh policies, but ease them slightly when citizens comply. A strict curfew may be enforced, then relaxed once enough people follow it, creating an illusion of reward while reinforcing submission. Similarly, social groups or religious organizations may use guilt, shame, or exclusion to control members. Social isolation may be removed only when someone conforms to expectations, making them associate belonging with compliance. The long-term consequence of negative reinforcement is deep psychological conditioning. When people repeatedly learn that discomfort only disappears when they comply, they gradually stop questioning the system itself. Deliberate misinterpretation. Deliberate misinterpretation is a psychological manipulation tactic in which someone purposefully twists your words, ideas, or intentions to make you seem wrong, guilty, or unreasonable. This technique is designed to confuse, discredit, or gaslight the target, causing them to doubt their communication abilities or feel the need to over-explain themselves. The true goal of this tactic is to shift the power dynamic in a conversation. It forces the target into a defensive position while the manipulator takes control of the narrative. This strategy works so effectively because people have a natural urge to correct misunderstandings. When someone misrepresents what we've said, we instinctively want to clarify or defend ourselves. Manipulators take advantage of this instinct by continuously distorting statements, creating endless cycles of justification, where the target wastes emotional and mental energy proving something that should have been obvious. One of the most common places this happens is during arguments or debates. A manipulative individual might take a harmless statement and twist it into something offensive or absurd. For instance, if you say, "I think we should save more money this year," they might respond with, "Oh, so now you think I'm irresponsible?" This kind of reply forces you to defend something you never actually said, diverting attention from the real topic to a false accusation. In politics and media, this tactic is used frequently to discredit opponents. A politician might state, "We need to regulate certain industries," and the opposition spins it into, "They want to destroy businesses and kill jobs." This deliberate twisting makes it harder to have rational conversations, as people become caught up in correcting misinformation instead of discussing actual issues. The media often plays into this as well. Headlines exaggerate or distort statements to stir outrage and provoke emotional reactions, boosting engagement, but often at the cost of truth and nuance. In toxic relationships, deliberate misinterpretation is a common gaslighting tool. A manipulative partner may twist a simple, neutral comment like, "I need some alone time," into, "So you don't love me anymore?" Or, "You just want an excuse to ignore me." This puts the other person on the defensive, burdening them with guilt over something they never intended. Over time, this can cause the victim to second-guess their words and feel incapable of ever communicating properly. In the workplace, this tactic is also used for manipulation. A boss might twist an employee's request for fairness into, "You just don't want to work hard," or "You're being difficult." Similarly, Coworkers looking to undermine someone might intentionally misinterpret harmless remarks, sparking unnecessary conflict and harming reputations. Even in legal and interrogation settings, deliberate misinterpretation is used to manipulate outcomes. A lawyer might seize on a minor inconsistency and blow it out of proportion, making a witness appear unreliable. Police interrogators may reframe answers in misleading ways to pressure suspects into clarifying, sometimes causing them to say something incriminating in the process. To protect yourself from deliberate misinterpretation, resist the urge to fall into the manipulator's trap. Instead of frantically defending yourself, calmly redirect the conversation by saying something like, "That's not what I said. Let's focus on what I actually meant." If someone repeatedly misrepresents your words, it's likely intentional. Stay composed. Clarify your point once, and do not get dragged into endless explanations. Recognizing this tactic is key to holding on to control over your own words and not allowing others to redefine your reality. When you stop reacting emotionally and start seeing the manipulation for what it is, you reclaim your power in conversations and protect yourself from being unfairly discredited. Illusory truth effect. The illusory truth effect is a psychological phenomenon in which people begin to believe false information simply because they've heard it repeatedly. It stands as one of the most powerful cognitive biases, influencing everything from personal beliefs to political ideologies. The more often a statement is repeated, the more familiar it becomes. And the more familiar it feels, the more likely we are to believe it's true, even when it's completely false. This happens because the brain tends to favor mental shortcuts over deep analysis. Rather than carefully evaluating each piece of information, the mind leans on familiarity as a signal of credibility. When we hear something multiple times, our brains process it more easily, and this ease of processing makes the information seem more valid. This is exactly why misinformation, propaganda, and advertising depend so heavily on repetition. When a statement is repeated enough times, people gradually stop questioning it and start treating it as fact. A clear and well-documented example of the illusory truth effect is found in media and politics. Politicians, advertisers, and influencers understand that repeating a message, even if it's misleading, makes it more believable. A political leader might knowingly repeat a false claim over and over, aware that even skeptics might begin to subconsciously accept it as truth. News outlets further intensify the effect by echoing the same misleading narratives across different platforms, embedding the falsehood deeper into public consciousness. Over time, even individuals who are typically well informed may begin to accept incorrect information simply because it has been repeated so often. In the world of advertising, this effect is deliberately exploited. Marketers repeat slogans, jingles, and claims relentlessly, so they stick in the minds of consumers. When a company continuously says their product is the best, fastest, or most effective, people often start to believe it, even when there's little to no proof behind the claim. Repetition overrides reason. The effect extends into everyday social interactions too. When a rumor is repeated often enough, it begins to sound legitimate, even if it has no factual basis. This explains how gossip spreads so easily. Once enough people repeat a false story, it transforms from mere speculation into what feels like accepted truth. In relationships, the illusory truth effect can be incredibly damaging. If someone repeatedly tells you that you're incapable, unworthy, or unlovable, you might begin to internalize those messages, even though they are baseless. Constant repetition can make false narratives feel like reality. One of the most dangerous aspects of the illusory truth effect is its power to distort memory. Research shows that when people are repeatedly exposed to false information, they can start to misremember past events in a way that supports the misinformation. This means false narratives don't just mislead, they can reshape how people remember and understand reality, reinforcing biases and making it even harder to separate truth from fiction. To defend yourself against the illusory truth effect, critical thinking is key. Don't accept something as true just because you've heard it many times. Always question the source, the credibility, and the evidence behind the information. If something feels familiar, remind yourself that repetition does not equal truth. Make a habit of cross-checking information with multiple reliable sources, especially when it comes to news, social media, or persuasive messages. Awareness of this psychological trick also strengthens your everyday decision-making. If you feel pressured to believe something simply because it's been repeated often, pause and ask yourself whether it actually has real merit. By developing a mindset rooted in healthy skepticism and factual verification, you can protect yourself from manipulation. The illusory truth effect is one of the most insidious forms of psychological influence because it works beneath conscious awareness. It doesn't rely on logic, evidence, or reason. It exploits familiarity. But once you understand how it works, you can begin to reclaim control over your beliefs and ensure that your decisions are grounded in truth, not repetition.